my safety.
Yeah, please.
I'm recording from my safety. What the f is Farai doing?
8 men were held at gunpoint in America. The police said they matched the description. The description was a color, not a face, not a height, not a build, a scar, or a name. A color. And when people actually looked at the footage, when they saw with their own eyes what these officers used to justify drawing loaded weapons on a group of young men standing peacefully on a public sidewalk, the reality was even more damning than the headline. Nobody was wearing it. Not one person in that group had on an all-black outfit. One wore a black polo shirt with blue jeans. Others had on dark colors. The kind of thing half the city wears on a Friday night heading out. Regular clothes, normal night, innocent people. But that didn't matter. Here's exactly what happened.
Black male wearing all black.
Ain't nobody got on all black.
Nigga, that's
It was a regular evening in downtown Rochester, New York. A group of young black men had just wrapped up their night. Left an event, nothing unusual, nothing reckless. They were standing on the sidewalk doing what millions of people do every single night in this country. Phones out, checking the app, waiting on their Uber. That's it. That's the full extent of their activity. Then the police arrived, and they didn't arrive casually. 5, then 6 officers moved in with the kind of coordinated energy that tells you this wasn't a routine check. Before a single word was exchanged, before anyone was asked a question or given a chance to speak, hands were moving toward holsters. Guns came out, not one. Multiple officers, weapons drawn and pointed directly at these men who had done nothing, said nothing, threatened no one. One of the men immediately raised his phone and started recording.
off the demographic.
Record this shit.
His voice trying to stay level. I'm recording for my safety. The officer's response wasn't a reassurance. It wasn't a de-escalation. It was hostility, directed at a man doing the one thing the law explicitly protects his right to do. What the is your camera doing? When the officers finally explained themselves, the justification they offered was this. Someone had called in a tip, said a person matching their description was armed inside a nearby venue. The description they were given? All black clothing. Now pause here, because this is the moment the entire story breaks open. Look at the footage. Study every single person standing in that group. A black polo shirt, blue jeans. Dark colors, yes, but not one person head to toe in all black. Not one outfit that matched what the caller reportedly described. And yet, 6 trained law enforcement officers, armed and in formation, decided that was close enough to draw weapons, close enough to order grown men to raise their hands in public like criminals, close enough to conduct a thorough search of their bodies on a public sidewalk while bystanders watched. And when they found nothing, no weapon, no threat, no evidence of any crime whatsoever, the officers didn't apologize, didn't explain, didn't pursue another lead or look for another suspect. They just left, walked away, like it never happened, as if the dignity of 8 innocent men was something you could borrow for 10 minutes and return without consequence. But here is what transforms this from a disturbing incident into something far more calculated. At the very same time this was unfolding on the streets of Rochester, the one independent agency that existed specifically to investigate incidents like this one was being surgically dismantled. Not loudly, not in a press conference or a public debate, quietly, through courtrooms, through legal filings, through union contracts most people never read, and rulings most people never heard about.
Somebody of your guys' description, stand over here, has a gun.
That's like everybody
Listen here. Listen, shut your mouths. Shut your mouths.
Keep your hands up.
One by one. Listen.
The Rochester Police Accountability Board, an agency built by the city's own citizens to provide independent oversight of the very department that just held these men at gunpoint, had its investigative powers stripped away. Its ability to subpoena records, access personnel files, compel testimony, gone. And 6 of its employees were laid off on a single day. with minutes of notice. This wasn't bureaucratic shuffling. This was a system protecting itself. The question you should be sitting with right now isn't just why 6 officers drew weapons on 8 innocent men waiting for a ride home. The question is, who made sure there would never be an official investigation into why? Because that answer is coming, and it's worse than you think.
One by one, we're gonna pass you guys down to confirm that whether or not that shit is true or not. Okay?
All right, Justice League.
You first. Okay? Keep those hands up.
They found nothing. No weapon, no threat, no crime of any kind. And the officers just walked away. But here is what nobody told those 8 men still standing on that sidewalk, shaking, replaying the moment 6 gun barrels swung in their direction. The one agency legally built to hold those officers accountable had already been quietly gutted before that night ever happened. They didn't know it. Most of Rochester didn't know it, but it was already done. Think about what that moment actually feels like from the inside. You've done nothing wrong. You know you've done nothing wrong, and yet you just spent several minutes with your hands raised above your head while armed officers searched your body in front of strangers. Because someone called in a tip about a color that nobody in your group was even wearing. When it's over, you don't feel relief. You feel something heavier. The specific weight of knowing this wasn't an accident and wondering whether anyone will ever answer for it. So who do you call? Who is actually watching these officers? In Rochester, the answer was supposed to be the Police Accountability Board, a fully funded, professionally staffed independent agency with real authority, subpoena power, access to personnel files, the ability to compel testimony completely outside the police department's control. That independence was everything, and that's exactly why it had to be destroyed. The Rochester Police Locust Club, the officers' union, spent years dismantling it legally and methodically, first stripping its disciplinary powers in 2023, then challenging its investigative authority entirely. By March 20th of this year, appellate judges ruled the PAB could no longer access personnel files, issue subpoenas, or investigate misconduct at all. Then on April 17th, 6 investigators were laid off, with minutes of notice, 2 days after winning a labor ruling in their favor. 2 days later, they were gone. Robert Leonard, a representative for unionized city workers, called the timing highly unusual. That might be the most restrained sentence spoken in this entire story. Without subpoena power, no one can pull the files on the officers who held those men at gunpoint. No one can find prior complaints. No one can put anyone under oath. The truth exists. They just made sure nobody can legally reach it. And the bill for all of it didn't go to the officers. It didn't go to the union. It went to the taxpayers. Here is a number that should stop you completely. Since 2019, New York State has spent over $800 million on police misconduct settlements. Not federal money, not some abstract government fund, taxpayer money, your money. Money pulled directly from the same public budget that funds schools, roads, hospitals, and housing, redirected quietly year after year to cover the cost of officers who violated the rights of the very citizens paying their salaries. Last year alone, $117 million in a single year. And not one officer wrote a personal check. This is the part of the conversation that policing advocates never want to have, because the moment you follow the money, the argument that oversight is unnecessary completely collapses. Think about what $117 million actually represents. That is not discipline. That is not accountability. That is a city, a state, writing a check to make a lawsuit disappear, putting it on the public tab, and hoping nobody adds it up. And they do it again next year, and the year after that. Because here is the brutal financial reality that most people never hear explained clearly. When a city settles a police misconduct case, the money doesn't come from some sealed vault that exists separately from public life. It comes from the municipal budget. And when the settlement exceeds what was already allocated, some cities have had to borrow money to cover the gap. Borrow money for misconduct payouts. Now bring this back to those 8 men in Rochester. If any one of them had pursued legal action after being held at gunpoint without justification, and they would have had legitimate grounds to do so, that settlement would have been added to New York's running tab. paid by the public, while the officer involved faced no personal financial consequence whatsoever. And with the PAB now stripped of investigative authority, no independent findings, no documented pattern of behavior, no subpoenaed personnel file showing prior incidents. Any attorney defending the city faces far less exposure. Destroy the oversight body, limit the evidence, reduce the liability. It's not just about avoiding accountability. It's also about protecting the budget line, while making sure the public never connects those two things. Let's call this what it is. What happened to those 8 men in Rochester was not a glitch in the system. It was not a rogue officer having a bad night. It was not an isolated incident that nobody could have predicted or prevented. It was the system functioning exactly as certain people need it to function. And Rochester is not unique. That is the most important thing you can take from this entire story. Because the moment you understand that this is a playbook and not an anomaly, you stop asking, how did this happen here? And start asking the far more dangerous question. Where else is this happening right now? The playbook has 3 moves, and once you see them, you'll recognize them everywhere. Move 1, discredit the description. When officers have no real justification for a stop, the description becomes elastic. All black clothing becomes dark colors. 6 feet tall becomes approximately that height. The threshold for what counts as a match gets stretched just wide enough to justify the action that was already decided before anyone checked the facts. Those 8 men weren't stopped because they matched the description. They were stopped because they were black, visible, and present. The description was the paperwork filed afterward. Move 2, neutralize the oversight. You don't always have to eliminate a watchdog loudly. You can do it slowly, legally, methodically. You challenge its disciplinary powers in court, then you challenge its investigative powers. Then you challenge its access to records. Then you lay off its staff with minutes of notice on a Tuesday. By the time the public realizes the oversight body has no teeth, the body's already gone. Rochester's PAB took 5 years to build and less than 2 years of sustained legal pressure to functionally destroy. Move 3, make the public pay and keep them confused about it. $800 million in misconduct settlements since 2019, $117 million in a single year. Buried in budget lines, processed through insurance, described in language designed to make your eyes glaze over before you reach the number that matters. Because if you ever clearly understood that your tax dollars were directly funding the consequences of civil rights violations, and that the people committing those violations face zero personal financial consequence, the conversation about accountability would change overnight. That is exactly why the conversation is kept complicated. So where does that leave those 8 men? Standing on a Rochester sidewalk that looks exactly the same as it did before any of this happened. No formal investigation, no subpoenaed files, no compelled testimony from the officers who drew weapons on them without justification. No independent body with the legal authority to demand answers on their behalf. What they have is footage, their own testimony, and the knowledge that they did everything right, complied, recorded, stayed calm, and it still happened. That footage exists because one of them had the presence of mind to hit record in the middle of one of the most terrifying experiences a person can have. That instinct, to document, to make visible what institutions prefer stays invisible, is not a small thing. It is, at this point in history, one of the most powerful civic tools available to ordinary people. And that brings us to the only real conclusion this story has. Oversight doesn't fail because people stop caring. It fails because the people it threatens are more organized, better funded, and more politically connected than the people it protects. The answer to that imbalance is not despair. It is attention. Sustained, informed, unrelenting attention. Know your city's police accountability structure. Know whether your local oversight board has subpoena power, because if it doesn't, you already know what it's worth. Know what your city allocates annually for misconduct settlements and ask your council member why that number isn't dropping. And when you see footage like this, don't just react to it, understand it. Because the officers who walked away from 8 innocent men that night in Rochester were not afraid of your outrage. They were only ever going to be afraid of your knowledge. This story isn't over. Cases like this one are unfolding in cities across this country right now. Same playbook, different streets, different names. If this opened your eyes, stay close. New stories drop here regularly, and the next one is already in production. Subscribe, you belong in this conversation.